open.
You're not going to put in your app?
Nope.
What?
Nope.
Okay, we're going to have a talk.
I talked with Tiffany this morning.
Okay, it's November 27th. Happy day before Thanksgiving. We'll call to order the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting for the City of Brainerd, and we'll start with introductions.
Kara Terry, Ward 1.
Alderman at Large, Kevin Stunek.
Connie Hillman, Finance Director.
Chris Schubert, HR Director.
James Kronvik, Community Development Director.
Nick Broyle, City Administrator.
And Gabe Johnson, Chair of the committee. We have 10 items on the agenda today, the first of which is to accept a resignation of IT Data Analyst Abigail Sova. Chris.
Good morning. IT Data Analyst Abby Sova submitted her resignation letter on November 18th. Her last working day will be Monday, December 2nd. The recommended motion is to accept her resignation. And then there's just some additional information I'd like to share after the motion.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do you want to share it right now?
Sure. So previously, our Public Utilities Director did not feel we needed to fill the Business Office Specialist position after we had negotiated that wage with the union. After this resignation, he has determined now that we do need that position for operational needs. So we have started the hiring process for that position at this point. Also, the work group, the integration work group has started talking a little bit about how this impacts the immediate IT needs at Public Utilities. And there'll be more information on that on the regular agenda on Monday night.
Okay, any discussion, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is to ratify the hiring of Colton Gutenkauf as police officer.
Colton Gutkoff was offered our police officer position and has successfully completed the pre-employment hiring process. He will start on December 4th at step 1 of the police officer wage grid. And staff recommends approval of that, please.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Quick question. Is he the local kid?
I
Because
don't
his
know.
dad, I think his dad is Gary Gutenkauf, who just retired from the Sheriff's Department.
You're asking confidential information I can't share.
Okay.
What religion is he?
I'll find out.
How many kids does he have?
I'll check my confidential.
Happy Thanksgiving.
contact.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Next up is to ratify hiring of Lisa Osbach for Administrative Specialist Public Works. Chris.
We received 31 applications for the Administrative Specialist Public Works Department position, and 8 candidates were invited to interview. Staff offered the position to Lisa Asbach, who will be starting with us on December 23rd at step 1 of the 2024 Administrative Specialist Public Works wage grid. Staff recommends approval of her, or ratifying her hiring.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? No. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Next up, approve memorandum of agreement with IUOE Street Division Union for 24-26 wage adjustment. Chris.
Our first union that settled with our new 2024 wage grid was the IUOE Local 49 Street Division Union. After that settlement, we negotiated higher across-the-board increases with both the Administrative Support Union and the Parks Union. Staff recommends that the council approve the attached memorandum of agreement with the IUOE Local 49 Street Division employees to adjust the wage increases effective July 1st, 2024, July 1st, 2025, and January 1st, 2026. This MOA promotes uniformity within the city amongst the different bargaining unions and maintains a uniform pay scale.
And I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll just say this is what this council is committed to doing the whole time we've been doing the negotiations for the last year and a half, is we want to treat all of our employees fairly. We want to treat them all equally. And since these guys settled first, we're not going to punish them and not give them the same wage increases that other units got. So we're going back and making it right. And I think that's the right thing to do. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Next up, approve a 25-27 contract terms and wage resolution with LELS Local Number 65 Union. Chris.
Yes, the city reached a tentative agreement with the Law Enforcement Labor Services Union representing our police officers for the 2025-2027 union contract. In your packet is a summary of the terms agreed to by the city and union during negotiations. These are the same across-the-board increases that we have negotiated with our other unions. So the recommended action is a motion to approve the attached tentative agreement summary, and then there's also a resolution setting the wages for this group.
I so move.
Second.
So motion and a second to push both of those forward to council. We'll do it in two actions at the city council, but we can do it in one here. Any discussion?
There is a little bit more information in your packet talking about ESST, and because it was a new law effective January 1st of 2024, and then the 2024 legislature changed that law, we will need to modify that MOA as well as our employee policy manual, and that information will be coming forward when available.
Okay, and then I would say this is for 25 and 26. This is what we've settled with other bargaining units. This is the first one we're getting under contract for 27, and that's at 3% right now, and I think that's a fair wage adjustment. Any other discussion? Nope. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up is authorization to enter into a contract with Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney for civil attorney services. Chris, or Nick?
Thank you. At the November 18th, 2024 council meeting, council elected to remain with Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney for civil attorney services and directed staff to enter into negotiations with them and present financials to council for consideration. Attached in the packet is the proposed agreement. Some of the financials, non-retainer hourly wage increase of $10 an hour for 25. That would put that at $180 an hour, currently at $170. And then an additional $10 per hour in 2026, which would put it at $190. Second, for development matters, an hourly rate increase of $5 an hour, putting it at $200 per hour. And this is generally passed on to developers, this cost. Third, litigation matters, hourly rate increase of $10 per hour, putting it at $195 for the term of this agreement. And this is a 2-year agreement for 25 and 26. And lastly, retainer amounts would increase by $2,000 in 25 and an additional $2,000 in 26, and those would be $57,000 and $59,000 respectively. We're currently at $55,000 for a retainer. And then there's some historical information that shows what we've total expenditures for legal services, civil legal services over the past 10 years or so. Staff would recommend approval of this proposed agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. One question. It looks like it's been $70,000 to $80,000 of general fund dollars for the last 10 years.
Yes, sir.
Do these change in rates? Do you see that affecting it all that much? Like, what do you think the budget difference is going to be? Is it going to cost $10,000 more, or?
Connie, I can speculate, but do you have any insight into that at all?
We have budgeted $80,000 in the general fund. It is so hard to predict, and that's based on the 5-year average that we've had. So even though they're proposing a rate increase, we haven't proposed to increase the amount because it varies depending on what projects they're working on and for who.
Yeah, we'll just commit ourselves to getting fewer lawsuits next year. Any other discussion? No. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Next up, authorization to enter into an agreement with CLA for 24 audit services. Connie?
So Clifton Larson Allen has been our auditors for many, many, many years. I messed up and I should have came to you in July or August and asked if you wanted to go out for an RFP, because at this point we really don't have time to go out for RFP and get the audit done by the June 30th deadline. So I have a note to bring this to council back in July and August of 2025 to see if the council does want to go out for RFP. But that is an option for council to go out for RFP if they want to. CLA is proposing basically a 4.7% increase from the 2023 base services-based audit fee. There are additional fees that it could cost up to $61,163 for total services. As I mentioned, council could go out for RFP, but I'm afraid we're up against a deadline. And then below was a history of the audit fee and how the airport has split the cost. We base it on revenue. And in the budget, we have $52,000 for the 2024 audit services for the general fund. Staff's recommendation would be to authorize signatures on the statement of work, audit services with CLA for 2024 audit services.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Next up, a sulfur update.
The state, local fiscal relief funds, otherwise known as ARPA, we can take our pick what we wanted to refer to it. So the city received about $1.4 million. The city elected the standard allowance, so we could use it for general provision of government services. The funding needs to be spent or committed by December 31st, 2024. It is staff's understanding that if it's committed, you have entered into a contract by December 31st, 2024, and then you have an additional 2 years to spend it. Staff attached a worksheet kind of on what we have spent it on, what we are going to pay with the next round of bills, and so we have $168,000 left to be spent. We have contracts with the for the stairs for the historic water tower, as well as the future capital projects that'll eat up the balances of those budgets. Staff's main concern is the allocation to the EDA Main Street grant. However, a demolition permit has been received from the D.W. Jones for the development, and it is our understanding that they are going to start demolition in December and will be able to use up the $80,000. So the options are to stay the course. Staff can provide an update at the December 16th meeting on the Main Street grant if they've started demolition yet. If council wants to have all the funding spent by December 31st, rather than having to commit dollars and just have it all be spent, we could amend, staff's recommendation could be to amend the police department, HVAC, pedestrian bridge, and motor grader, because we've already spent the amount of those funds that are remaining on the grants. Or we could do a combination of the two that are, or anything that's listed, so.
I so move.
To,
Motion, I would think.
Oh,
there's no recommendation.
well,
just
so,
information.
just, can I ask a
Yep,
question?
go
then?
ahead.
Sorry. Or we could put this money toward our police officer budget for 2025, because law enforcement expenditures would be covered. And so that whole amount could go toward law enforcement, not increasing their budget, but paying for personnel expenditures, and it could bring our levy down further. Then we wouldn't be committing to these other projects, and I was on after all of this coronavirus allocations was, I think, approved, so I don't know what the history is with those, or what our commitments are to those.
Yeah. So the,
It's not a bad idea.
I mean, yeah, I have a couple of questions. I don't hate that idea. Except for that we are already using like one-time funds to supplement the
Yeah, I know.
No, that's true.
this public safety budget.
Yep, and I get that too, and I know it's kicking the can down the road. However, if our goal is a lower levy for this upcoming year, and we have the funds available to be able to use it to impact the levy, then I don't know that it's such a bad idea to, but again, I don't know what the commitment is to these other projects.
The only thing is we have committed to, for the Main Street grant, there's $80,000. That was,
Yeah, I have questions on that. We actually the EDA actually granted that project $200,000. 80 of it was from these funds, and the other was that Main Street through the Initiative Foundation. What's the status of that 200?
I'll refer to James Kramvik.
So because this is tied to the ARPA dollars, it has to be spent by the end of the year. D.W. Jones, as well as myself and Eric Charpentier, have been in contact with the Initiative Foundation. From that perspective, they have until next June to spend those remaining dollars. So the $350,000 estimated demolition is, when you look at the matching grants, is actually more than the $80,000, plus they have architectural costs in there as well. So they'll be also submitting costs to the Initiative Foundation for that, but the ARPA dollars are kind of the first one, so they use up the full $80,000 from the city from the demolition, and then be submitting stuff to the Initiative Foundation because they have a later deadline.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. I know we already awarded the money, so I don't really want to take it back. But I'm a little hesitant, since there isn't anything being built, I'm a little hesitant to just tear something down downtown Brainerd and just build a pit and hope that the government gives them $15 million in the next 2 years, right? Then we're not building Main Street, we're tearing Main Street down at that point. So I don't know. I'm a little hesitant on that 80, but I have more questions. J.C.'s Park, we've spent 135, you're gonna spend 167 more next week. So over $300,000 was spent at J.C.'s Park to dig a hole. Spent $300,000 to dig a hole.
I can't answer what was done there.
Oh, it was a hole, was dug in the middle of the park.
I don't know.
I do, I've been there. Go check it out. It's beautiful. It'll be a nice little swamp next summer. But that was really $300,000? I thought their contract award was, to the contractor was only like 130 or 160.
It was over $400,000. And the award for that contract did the Lum Park, Kiwanis Park, or excuse
No,
me,
I'm not talking about Lumber Kiwanis. Let's stay on point here. I'm talking about J.C.'s Park.
but I don't know, I know that the whole contract was for all three of those projects and it's $447,000.
Because
So
you've got 553 there.
553,
Budget 575, total spent 332, plus to be paid 201.
yes. So there's other engineering services in there, there were other expenses for those projects.
Can I, before Monday, get a detailed
Yes.
itemized bill list for the work at J.C.'s Park? Because quite literally, they just took out a bunch of dirt and dug a big hole in the middle of the park. Like, if that costs $300,000, I got to get in the hole digging business.
Yeah. I'll do that.
And you think the historic water tower 52 will be spent by the end of the year?
I don't know if it'll be spent by the end of the year.
Well, we have a signed
But we have
contract.
a signed contract
I don't
with
like
her.
being told that staff thinks or staff is confident. I want to be told concrete things, like if we have it committed by the end of the year, is it guaranteed that that money still resides with us and will be spent?
That is what I have read in the information. Am I 100% confident? No, but that is the information I've read.
I thought it was spent or committed on, by 25.
It is 2024. And maybe the county is different than the city. I don't know. Maybe you guys are a large issue, we're a small, we're an NEU. I don't know the requirements. I know the requirements for NEUs is that it's spent or committed by December 31st, 2024.
Okay, well then I think we should stay the course. We've already committed and we think the money is all gonna be spent. We're not at risk. I requested to have this on the agenda. I was just wanted to make sure our ducks were in a row, that we weren't at risk of having to send any money back that could be spent in our community.
James has a,
James?
And I do recommend that we should probably revisit this at the next city council meeting to make sure that DW Jones has followed through with the demolition and give them, essentially a deadline to have things submitted by then. So if we need to reallocate at that meeting, at that point, we're able to.
Okay, I like that. So let's have it again on the 16th and see if DW does have their,
Well, that gives us much more clarification into it.
No action today.
so we're staying the course and staff can provide an update at the December 16th meeting on the Main Street grant.
yeah,
we need a motion on
let's
that?
do that.
So I make a motion to stay the course. Staff can provide an update at the December 16th meeting on the Main Street grant.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, and Connie's gonna get me an itemized list of expenditures at J.C.'s Park. Doesn't need to be part of the motion, I just know she's going to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Okay, next up, the 2025 non-working funds budgets. Connie?
Okay, so by state statute, a city has to adopt a budget by the end of the year for their general fund. However, the city has also historically adopted, officially adopted budgets for other funds in the past, and there was a memo that included kind of the detail. They're all included except for the EDA fund, which the EDA fund will be meeting next Thursday to talk about their budget and break it out by line items. So we had the agenda, we had the staff memo that just listed out what the funds were used for, and each one of the budgets were included in the packet for each one of those funds. So we have the transit fund, the library fund.
Wait a second, let me see that library fund. I heard their radio advertisement saying their funding was stagnant. That doesn't look stagnant to me.
I do believe that's the county. They
The
were-
radio ad said the library's funding has been stagnant.
I heard that too.
and I
That doesn't
heard-
look very stagnant to me.
I heard that they were encouraging citizens to come to the county to.
They did encourage people to come to the county. They didn't say the county funding was stagnant. They said the Brainerd Public Library's funding has
I
been
don't know, I
stagnant.
can't control what they advertise.
No, but I'm just saying, why are we gonna increase it if they're gonna buy radio ads saying that it's not? Just a question. Thank you for letting me, stopping there.
Okay, so we have the library. Then we have the recycling fund. This is the used oil. We transfer in funds from the storm sewer fund to help pay for the cost of the oil recycling in the dumpster. We have the parking lot fund. We're still negative. We're increasing our fund balance each year, but we're still a negative. This is something that we've looked at. The last time the city council raised the rates was in 2022.
Okay, so that's like, we're budgeting for $30,000 of levy dollars to fund our parking lots?
There's no levy dollars.
Okay, what's the transfer? Oh, transfers out.
Transfers out. This is the parking lot share of the downtown snow removal and downtown special services
Oh,
district.
okay.
We have the permanent improvement fund. This is basically our operating of our capital, the crack sealing, those kind of projects. We have the mayor's contingency fund. We transfer $2,500 for the mayor to use. Any funds not used at the end of the year are transferred back to the general fund. The sanitary sewer enterprise fund. So this accounts more like a business. So we only have the interest expenses. We don't have necessarily the debt service, but we do look at a cash flow purposes, and we may need to consider issuing debt for the 2025 capital projects.
Can this fund sustain it?
Not beyond 2025 with our current rates and the project that's being scheduled. But talking with the city engineer and the public works director, they do think that the projects for 2025 will be scaled back. We had basically funded to do about $500,000 a year in capital for the sanitary sewer. And I think it's double that being proposed currently right now for 2025.
Yeah, that goes to a capital improvement planning problem then, right?
So we have the storm sewer or sanitary sewer, and then we have the storm sewer fund. And notice that there's a big difference down here in the intergovernmental revenue. This is the Baxter's share for the environmental resource tech position. In 2024, we were getting some grant money for the gully project. So that's why they're so different for this year.
Okay, and how is this fund's health?
This is also an enterprise fund.
Yep,
Charges for services. And this one needs to be looked at either a rate adjustment or bonding.
okay, so they're both,
The sanitary sewer is fine until 2025.
yeah, that's in
Storm sewer
5
needs help.
weeks.
Well, if we do all those projects that are budgeted right now, yes, but they're not set in stone yet.
Yeah,
Okay, so this item is just informational, review and discussion of the budgets. The official adoption will be at the next council meeting.
okay. Just information, we don't,
It's informational.
all right, yeah, now let's go to, next up, discussion of the 2025 operating budget and levy.
I lost some sleep over this last night. Not gonna lie.
Me too, Connie.
So, we have the overview where we've reduced the capital levy by $100,000 and the airport levy is at $1,000. We have the proposed capital detail, which shows a decrease in the parks long-term maintenance by $100,000. And we also have decreased the street tree budget by $10,000. I'm just showing you these here to make sure that these are exactly the things that we talked about. So since I've been our last meeting, oops, hold on here. We've adjusted for personnel services for conditional job offers made and updated a couple health insurance elections. And then the city received the work comp renewal information on Monday. We had initially budgeted for a rate increase of 5%, an experience mod of 1.07. With the renewal, our experience mod is 0.89, and the rates dropped. So therefore, we have a savings to our operating budget of $135,000.
I just want to give a tip of the hat to the city's wellness committee. Seem to be doing a good job.
I think that's also a tip, Chris, that we make sure that employees get back to work as much as they can, do light duty assignments. That really, really, really helps the city and our work comp claims. We also got an email on Friday from the League of Minnesota Cities regarding our property liability and auto insurance. So I updated some additional adjustments and reduced our working fund by $27,000. Our current recap is showing In order for a balanced budget right now, we would need a 0.37% increase in the levy over the 2024 levy to have
Oh.
a balanced budget.
Connie, now you're speaking my language.
So, you can notice here that we know that we don't meet our fund balance policy, just an FYI. So you can set the levy, final levy, at the next council meeting at the 0.37% increase. We can remove the use of additional fund balance in the amount of 113. This would help the city work towards meeting its fund balance policy. This would mean a 2% increase over the 2024 levy. Or we can set the final levy anywhere between a range of 0.375 to 4% increase. We can restore the capital levy, increase permanent improvement levy, or just increase fund balance to get in compliance and to have a more steady increase in the levy rather than having the peaks and valleys in the overall.
Let's go back to that budget overview, yeah. Scroll all the way to the bottom there. So that 113 is one-time money. The public safety aid, that 95 is gonna be potentially zero in 26.
No, we have one more year.
We'd have one more year at 95, or we cut it in half again?
Cut it in half again.
Okay,
Or a
so
third.
there's another 50, so that's 160, that's right back on next year.
And granted, I don't set the levy, I'm just giving recommendations. I just look at our increase in personnel services as a 6% increase. It's $513,000. You know,
Well,
this was a one-time probably decrease in our levy as well. The debt service decrease, I mean, that helped us a lot as well this year.
Yeah, with the personnel 2025, due to our contracts, we gave like 6-7% wage adjustments in 2025. It'll be 3% in 26.
Plus step increases, so it's probably at least, a lot of people are still moving through the steps, so it could be potentially a 6.5 to 7% increase in wages as they're moving through the steps. I just have double and triple checked the workers' comp. And I am still just in shock.
Okay, well, I think 2% is fair.
I don't think we're gonna get any better.
Go ahead.
So I had sent an email to Connie and Nick about the article in the Dispatch regarding our levy and the comments around Tim Hool, the former county administrator, authorizing the increase of its levy by the 9,420, and we as the city then reduced our levy, it says, by that amount, thus alleviating the being taxed twice issue at that time. We've already talked about reducing our levy at the last meeting, whatever that was, where Kevin and I talked about reducing, and you brought it up, the 25,000 for staff costs. And then still authorizing some airport levy dollars to be allocated. So Gabe, do you have history on that increase in the county board, decrease here for the airport levy, and how that was to alleviate the double taxation?
So when, I think it was Jeff that originally brought it up when he was first elected.
Yep.
And it was because on city taxes and on county taxes, the city taxpayers pay the airport levy. Whereas like for the library, City of Brainerd taxpayers don't pay the county levy. They only pay the city levy for the library. So we're being double taxed. Instead of taking the citizens of Brainerd off of the county tax, which was the original request, Tim Hool did the math and determined that 10 grand was the difference. Then we split that, and that, in a sense, was supposed to
percentage of the city's net tax capacity compared to the counties. That's how we came up with the 9%. And that's how we came up with that $10,000 difference.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
yeah, some math was done, and that was a number that was supposed to alleviate it, but we're still being taxed by both entities.
In a sense, yes.
See, I don't understand this well enough to not allocate any money to the airport, and so I've sent Tim a message so he can help me walk through the math so I can understand where he was coming from. I am not comfortable leaving the airport levy at $1,000 at all. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I don't know where a 2% would get us in terms of that, or if we would even vote to increase. I don't think I have the majority on this. I think a discussion with the county board for 2025 is appropriate in terms of airport ownership, but I know that it's not going to happen this year. It is what it is, and Brainerd needs to step up and do our part in the airport funding, at least for this year.
Well,
So,
we did our part in trying to have the conversation.
you know, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that occurred by some members of the council that poisoned the well of discussion that not everybody might be aware of. And I don't feel I'm at liberty to speak to it, but I can tell you that a lot of stuff has occurred that isn't appropriate, and we, the city, might have shot ourselves in the foot, hypothetically speaking, for any further discussions. So I don't think we're at a point where we can say, nope, we're not having any part of it without risking the airport, the staff who are, you know, unsure about what's going to happen. I think we put forward the funding amount that we had talked about, less the staffing wages, and if we've already made the adjustments and accommodations with the county increasing their levy and us decreasing ours, I think we should be in good standing for 2025 and have discussions in 2025 in hopes that we can come to an agreement. So I don't know if a 3% levy increase would put us there,
A
or,
2% would give us about 140,000.
so,
Actually, no, it would give us, if we, because I got the 2% was I just zeroed this out. So it would be a little bit more than 2% if you went to 125,000 that you were talking about.
No, I'd say if we did a 2% levy, it would give us about $140,000
For the airport.
of money that we could put towards the airport or
That would-
filling in that hole at J.C.'s Park or whatever.
I like keeping
I'm
the
not doing the math.
113 to the fund balance policy, though. I don't think we should necessarily be pulling from there. Yes, ma'am.
So this is actually reducing our fund balance, is what this is doing, the
Right,
113,000.
right. And
So
I would
if-
like to keep that,
Yep, if we
plus
take-
increase for the airport.
Okay, so then you're looking at a 2% plus.
Oh, yeah, then we're
the
looking
funding
at,
for the
yeah,
airport.
then we're looking at
But
full.
probably less than 3%.
Yeah,
So I would like to see us in between there, covering that airport, putting the money back into the fund balance so we can be at our policy level. I don't think we cut down to the bare bone because it's only going to impact us next year. However, if the goal of the entire council is to reduce the levy to as low as we can go, then that's that. But I would say between that 2% and 3%.
I love between 2% and 3%. I think 2% would be good for this year, but I wouldn't hate 3. That's when we started at 8 or whatever. I'm fine taking a motion from this committee to council recommending a percentage to set it at. I'm not fine reinstating funds for the airport. We've tried 2-3 times on it, and that's
I've
just a
stuck-
full.
I've been stable on
You
mine.
have been, and I think you should bring it up at the council meeting, but I think that's just a full council discussion at
Yep,
this point.
absolutely. So I will move for a 4% levy increase, no, I'm sorry, 3% levy increase, my apologies. 3% levy increase to include the
Not using
the
the-
addition of the 113, or not using the 113, 188, as well as increasing the airport, well, you don't want that in that motion.
We don't want the airport.
We've tried that.
So, okay, so
and we're
not
just
using the
increasing fund balance,
113.
not using the 113,000 and adding to our fund balance policy with a 3% increase in the levy.
Yes.
And so this today, or at this meeting, we really don't have to do anything, it's more for discussion.
Oh, okay,
Our next council meeting is when we will actually set the final levy.
okay, cool.
So, okay, yeah. So, yeah, we discussed it. You've got direction at 3%. I think we're all in agreement that that's good to move forward there, but I think we'll have discussion with the full council and see. So I'll probably toss it over to you to give a short presentation so the full council can give their input on where the budget's at right now too.
Okay, so I will just pull up the Excel spreadsheet and say, this is where we're currently at. These are the things recommended by the P&F committee to get a 3%.
Well,
Don't bring up the airport, I'll do that.
but yeah, but we didn't make a motion, so we have no recommendation coming out of committee, so
Right.
just
And at-
present like you did to us.
Yeah.
And at this council meeting, we will also have the budget public hearing, which I would use at a 4% increase in the levy, because that's what you guys told me to last time. Did
Yeah,
you?
like 475, didn't we?
No, you told me 4.
4, okay.
I was at 4.75, you guys said use 4.
Oh,
for
right, then I
public
just
hearing.
took her down, yeah.
Yes, so then, and I'll do that, but I'll throw in what a 3% increase would too, just because.
Okay, cool,
That sounds good, Connie.
thank
Okay.
you.
Anything else to come before us? We're gonna meet again sometime?
Yes, our last meeting in 2024 will be Wednesday, December 11th at 11 o'clock.
Wednesday, December 11th at 11 o'clock here in council chambers. With that, we're adjourned.
Good job.
That's gonna be such a long meeting on Monday.
I won't be here for the 11th PM